You know that person, right? The one who seems incredibly smart right up until they open their mouth and start talking. Well, today, we're going to dig into the psychology of why that happens. And that brings us to a kind of uncomfortable question. It is so easy to spot these habits in other people, but what about in ourselves? In this explainer, we're going to look at the psychological habits that can fool our own brains into thinking we're smart when really they're just holding us back.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. It's a deep psychological truth. We are often way more invested in the performance of intelligence than in the hard work of genuine learning.
This whole thing creates what we can call the intelligence illusion. It's a crazy paradox, right? The very habits we pick up to look smart are often just symptoms of an insecurity that stops us from actually getting smarter.
So let's get into it. Think of this as a diagnosis. We're going to start with the first set of habits. These are the big red flags that show we're protecting our ego instead of growing our intellect. First up, the tendency to over-explain. You might think that adding endless details and little disclaimers makes you sound really thorough and smart. But psychologically, it often signals the exact opposite. And get this, there's actually a name for it, the over-justification bias. It's a known psychological tendency. When you're not really confident in your point, you just bury it in words. But the real masters, the truly intelligent people, they make complex things simple.
Okay, habit number 2 is being an information junkie. You read all the books, you watch the videos, you collect facts like they're trading cards. But this can create what's called the illusion of knowledge, where you start to confuse being exposed to information with actually mastering it. And here's the ultimate test for you. After you finish an article or a video, just ask yourself this one simple question. If the answer is, no, then you haven't truly understood it. See, real intelligence isn't about volume, it's about depth and making connections. Oh, we have all met this person, someone who just cannot stand to be wrong. This isn't a sign of a powerful mind. It's what the source material calls ego anxiety. Your brain isn't trying to learn. It's in full-on defense mode, just frantically trying to protect your self-image. And this just illustrates the two completely opposing goals perfectly. The ego wants to be right no matter what. It'll use what's called motivated reasoning to twist the facts to fit. But the true intellect? It's on a totally different mission, to get closer to the truth, even if that means admitting you are wrong. The fourth habit is believing that doubting everything makes you look like some kind of deep thinker. But a lot of the time, it's just a form of what's called defensive ignorance. I mean, let's be honest, it's way easier to just reject an idea than to do the hard work of actually trying to understand it. All right, let's move on to the second set of habits and see how this all connects. These next 4 really continue that central theme. They're all signs of a protected ego getting in the way of real, actual learning. Okay, this one is huge. The person who brags about being purely logical and unemotional. Well, modern neuroscience shows us that this is a complete myth. Logic and emotion aren't enemies. They're a team. They cooperate. So suppressing your emotions doesn't lead to better decisions, it leads to worse ones. It's not logical, it's just being emotionally blind. This habit is all about using knowledge as a weapon. You jump on every tiny little grammar mistake or mispronounced word. It's not to be helpful, it's to establish dominance. It's this subtle power play that has almost nothing to do with actually sharing knowledge. And yep, there's a name for this behavior too, linguistic insecurity. Think about that. It's a telltale sign that someone is feeling small on the inside, so they use these little corrections to feel big on the outside. Genuinely confident people they don't need to do that. We have all seen this one, using overly complicated language to seem smart. Trying to sound erudite by utilizing sesquipedalian verbiage. Yeah, it's just annoying. And it turns out, it totally backfires. A Princeton study actually found that using deliberately complex language makes people think you're less intelligent.
And this slide just sums it up perfectly. What you think it signals is depth and intellect, but what it actually signals is that you're hiding something. True confidence is found in clarity, not in confusion.
In the final habit, mistaking knowledge for wisdom. Just knowing about philosophy doesn't make you wise. The source material uses a great analogy for this. Knowledge is just a mirror. It shows you who you could be. But until you actually act on it, it's just a reflection. So, okay, after diagnosing this whole problem, what's the solution? How do we move from this performance of intelligence to the real thing? Let's take a look at the cure. The antidote is beautifully simple. It's not about learning more buzzwords or winning more arguments.
It's about a fundamental shift in your mindset. Stay curious enough to learn, humble enough to admit you don't know everything, and brutally honest with yourself about your own limits.
This quote from the source really just brings it all home. It's a paradox, isn't it? All the energy you spend on seeming smart is the very thing that's preventing you from becoming smart. Letting go of the performance is the very first step toward genuine growth.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway. It leaves all of us with a choice. Are you going to continue to perform for some imaginary audience? Or are you going to commit to the quiet, humble, and, sometimes difficult path of actual progress? The choice is yours.